Peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome to the Fourth Angels Learning Center. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to our Romans study. There's a lot of confusion in regards to Romans. There's a lot of confusion in regards to understanding Paul's interaction in regards to what is truth, what is not truth, what is the gospel. And also, I believe that there's a lot of issues in regards to proving that Paul is authentic, I would say consistent with the inspiration that has been, the inspiration through Yah's Ruach, his spirit, throughout the writing of the scriptures. So I think that one thing that is necessary, which if you guys been following along, you guys know that we are going to emphasize on the harmony between the teachings of the scriptures, the Torah and the prophets, and the teachings that Paul is expressing. Many people do not know that Paul is actually commentating. He's doing what many commentators do in regards to expressing, trying to assist the people who are misunderstanding the current text, meaning the people that he's addressing not really fully understanding the Torah and the prophets. So what he's doing is trying to express the Torah and the prophets in a manner that is practical, simple, and easy to understand by his audience. Okay, he's not creating a brand new idea using a different idea. If his idea is different from the ideas presented in the Torah and the prophets, then you cannot use those ideas to confirm or even support new ideas that is completely different than what was being expressed. It would have to be the same. This is why when Messiah was walking the earth, he constantly said that Moses spoke about me. Search the scriptures, they talk about me. They confirm situations. They do not confirm that he's about to express something totally different. That's not the case. So let's go into it. We are on Romans chapter 12 today. And we're going to basically read it together in groups of 7. And we're going to dissect it to make sure that his message is consistent throughout this chapter. That in this letter to the Romans, which is a letter to all believers, the Israelite believers, as well as the nations, the believers that came in from the nations, he is addressing all of these things in this letter. So let's take a look. It says here, I beseech you, let me see if I could make it a little bit bigger. I beseech you, therefore, brethren. This is one of the most commonly used, I would say, commonly used verses to express conformity to the world, compromising in your belief system to do the things that's clearly against Yah. So let's take a look at this. It says here, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, set apart, acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. Right? Do not be conformed to this world or fashioned. It's like molding. Do not be molded according to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then this part is very important, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, perfect will of Elohim, that you may prove, in other words, that you may express or manifest the evidence of what is good and acceptable in the perfect will of Elohim. Let's continue. We're going to come back and dissect that a little bit more. It says here in verse 3 and 4, for I say, through the grace given to me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly according as Elohim have dealt to every man the measure of faith. The measure of faith. Okay. It says here, for as as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in Messiah, and everyone members one of another. Everyone is a member of the same body. It says, having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. Ministry or servitude, let us wait on our ministering. Or he that teaches, on teaching. Let me read verse 8 as well. Or he that exhorts, on exhortation. He that gives, let him do it with simplicity. He that rules, with diligence. He that shows mercy, with cheerfulness. All right, so I love this expression, is because the transformation doesn't lead to some type of difficult manifestation. It leads, it actually removes yourself from burdens and heavier perspective and brings you to a place of simplicity, like to cut off all of the excess nonsense and to just show this the simplicity of his wisdom, of his power, of his spirit. This is what is manifesting. But it says here, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, set apart, acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. This is an expression showing that your bodies or your actions, this is an emphasis on the way that you live, the way that you do things, the way that you think, the way that your decisions. This statement has been mentioned before. It was in Romans 6, talking about your members, right? Let's look at verse 16. It says, do you not know that to whom you yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants you are to whom you obey, whether sin or transgression of the law unto death, or obedience unto righteousness. We read about this contrast, going from being captive to sin, or being made free from sin to become the servants of Elohim, and holiness becoming the fruit. Holiness, again, is set apartness. It means to be set apart. Romans chapter 8, we talked about the law of the spirit of life in Yahushua Messiah made us free from the law of sin and death. And because of that, look what it says here. The carnal mind was unable to be subject to the law of Elohim. So the expression, the expression that the things that causes you to be different is that you are no longer transgressing, aka sinning. You are no longer transgressing Yah's law, which is in turn disobeying or going against Yah. You are no longer against him by being against his law, right? The law is actually going to be written in your heart. So the law cannot be against you. It cannot be broken because the spirit is causing you to walk according to his law and his spirit, right? Just to express a little bit, because I know a lot of people probably focusing on his spirit. A lot of the prophets already expressed these ideas. Do not be conformed to the world, right? This is what it says. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So you can show what? Let's look at that one more time before we go to the prophets. Your bodies a living sacrifice. Your actions is expressed as a sacrifice. It is explained to be as a offering to Yah. Renewing of your mind that you may prove or show the evidence of what is good, acceptable, perfect will of Elohim. How does the law play a part in it? Well, it says to prove what is that good, acceptable, perfect will of Elohim. Romans 7, Paul mentions in regards to the law, he says here, wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, just, and good. To live according to this law is to show what is holy, just, and good, right? Let's see if the prophets express the same idea that Paul is reiterated. So I believe we talked about this. Ezekiel 26, if you go further down, I'm sorry, Ezekiel 36 down to 26, I believe. It says here, a new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh. This is expressing the born again experience, the transformation, right? Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You're being transformed, your heart, your spirit. So what is the heart and the spirit? Real quick, just to look at the definition of these things. The word heart is H3820, which is lab. Let me pull it up here so you guys can see it clearly. All right. The heart is expressing the intellect, right? The mind. Look what it says here. The center of anything, right? Wisdom, understanding. This is what the heart is expressing. But then it not only says, I'm going to give you a new heart, it says, I'm going to give you a new spirit. H7307, which is the Hebrew word ruach, which is many people know for wind, breath. But look down here. It says rational being, meaning a person is rational or intellectual in their mind. They're able to understand. It says here, their mind. You understand? This is what you're receiving. Now, you're transformed by the renewing of your mind. Yah is giving you a new heart and a new spirit, and then he's going to put his spirit within you. Now, remember what Romans says. It says to prove what is that good, acceptable will of Elohim. It says here, I will put my spirit within you to cause you to walk in my statutes, that you should keep my judgments and do them. This is very important to understand. This is the will of Yah. This is the will of Yah that he has for you. When you think about Yah's will, you have to be understanding that you're trying to recognize or see in scripture, what does Yah desire for you to do? His will is what he wants from you. That's what you have to figure out. It's not just what he's doing for himself. Is what does he want for you? What does he want from you? And what is he offering you to manifest this will, or to confirm this will? Verse 13 of Ecclesiastes 12. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim, keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. Who says that? Who gave us this duty? Who gave us this? Who told us that this is the entire matter? This is the conclusion of the entire matter, to fear Yah, to keep his commandments. Let's look in the Torah, see if they confirm that, and let's go back to Romans. Deuteronomy chapter 5. Look at what he says. Verse 29, it says, oh, that there was such a heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children. See, the will of Yah is for it to be well with us. The will of Yah is for it to be good for us, that we are preserved, that we are protected, that we are in line with righteousness and with his ruach, his spirit. So when you see this statement here, let's go back to it. When you see this, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, perfect will of Elohim, is not saying so you can express it like with your mouth to tell people what it is, but in turn, it's actually saying so you can actually show it. And let me see if this Greek word kind of, according to the context, that's what it's saying. But let's see if this Greek word actually expresses not only so you can prove it, so you can understand it, so you can show it. Look at what it says here. This word prove, is it G1381? It means to allow, right? that you may prove or approve, that you confirm, that you discern, that you examine, that you can see, that you've tested. Look what it says, test, that you've tested. Let's see what the Thayers say. To test, examine, to prove, to scrutinize, to see whether a thing is genuine or not, right? To recognize as genuine after examination. You deemed it worthy. So what is this saying here? That when you are transformed by the renewing of your mind, then there's a manifestation from the renewing of your mind that shows what is good, acceptable, perfect will of Elohim. Romans 8 talked about the new mind. It says here, the spiritual mind is life and peace. The carnal mind is not subject to the law of Elohim. So what is the spiritual mind? The spiritual mind can serve the law of Elohim. Look at Romans 7. Just allowing Paul to express himself. Look what it says here. So then with the mind, I myself serve the law of Elohim. With the mind, I myself serve the law of Elohim. In verse 8, when the mind is carnal, it is not subject to the law of Elohim. So you see what he's talking about here. The renewing of the transformed by the renewing of your mind is freeing your mind from the captivity of sin, allowing you to see or deem worthy what is that good, acceptable, perfect will of Elohim. And we saw Ecclesiastes 12:13, Deuteronomy 5:29, fearing Yah is the beginning of wisdom. Keeping his commandments is a manifestation that you are free from transgressing his law, and you can now serve Yah and do what he asks. He frees you. You are now his servant. He is your Elohim. You do what he says. You no longer do what sin says. You do what he says. Bodies as a living sacrifice. We looked at how Paul expressed that in Romans 6. But we know that Romans 6 is expressing a like you're yielding your actions, yielding the things that you do, the things that you say. Right? The scriptures talk about that as well. David says in Psalms 51, it talks about first in verse 10, creating me a clean heart, O Elohim, renew a right spirit within me. This is what we read in Ezekiel 36, verse 26. Look at what it says here. Verse 15 says there's something important. It says, O Yahuwah, open my lips, and my mouth shall show forth your praise. It says, for you desire not sacrifice, or else I will give it. You desire not burnt offering. And then look what he said. The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O Elohim, you will not despise those things. Romans chapter 12, living sacrifice, sacrifices that come forth from a living person, not from a dead animal. Sacrifice is not a dead animal. It comes forth from a living heart, the living person's mind. Says the sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O Elohim, you will not despise. Do good unto them, in your good pleasure, unto Zion. Build thou the walls of Jerusalem. Then you shall be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness. This is Romans 6. Go back and read Romans 6. It talks about being free from sin, and now you are able to be a servant to righteousness. You shall be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offerings and whole burnt offerings. Then shall you offer bullocks upon my altar. If you notice, after you offer the living sacrifices, then you can keep the commandments. This is according to before the animal sacrifices was fulfilled in Yahushua. So before it was fulfilled in the Messiah, we clearly see that Yah is requiring for you to give a living sacrifice, meaning a sacrifice from the heart and from the mind of a person. The prophet Hosea talks like this as well, even in regards to sin offerings. Look what he says. Hosea chapter 14, looking at verse 1. It says here, O Israel, return unto Yahuwah your Elohim, for you have fallen by your iniquity. Take with you words. Take with you words and turn to Yahuwah. Say unto him, take away all iniquity. Receive us graciously. And look at this statement here. So will we render the calves of our lips. He's referring to his words as calves, as animals. He's comparing his words with animal sacrifices. The words that he's bringing, he's saying, accept this. This is our calf. So we see that the prophets expressed interaction with Yah and intermingling their minds with Yah's mind as the living sacrifice as well in different wordings, but it's still coming from you. You are still the person that's expressing it, you know? So then it talks about us being one body. I think this is kind of clear. Scripture has always manifested his one people, one Israel, being many, 12 tribes, mixed multitude, millions of people. There's always been this expression of everybody functioning together, you know, even in compartments. Like Israel will break down the tribes in thousands and hundreds and tens. He will break them down into groups to function as a unit, not to function separately, as a unit. And he talks about ministry. Even in the Torah, ministry is the service of Yah has always been designated to the ones called. I need to express this real quick. So the services, even in a temple services, the things that had to be done had to be I would say executed or exercised by those who Yah calls, those who he gives these missions to, right? So you have the work of the Levites, and then you have the work of Aaron and his sons. The work of Aaron and his sons could not be done by the Levites. Like, for example, the Day of Atonement. The intercession that's done during the Day of Atonement cannot be done by any Levite. It has to be done by the high priest. It has to be done by those who had that particular mission or had that particular office. You see what I'm saying? So when we're looking at spiritual gifts, we're not looking at individuals that have jobs or positions. We're looking at gifts that Yah has called people to do according to the proportion of faith. If you have this proportion of faith and Yah is calling you to do this, this is what you focus on. You don't try to do everybody else's job or everybody else's office or mission. You focus on your mission. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do anything else or that Yah is not going to increase your ability to express anything else. But when you are called or you have a gift, it's known by others. Other people know. Other people see, because you are constantly living and walking and talking and exercising that particular gift. So let's continue to move forward. We're going to start at verse 9 and read down to verse 17. It says here, let love be without dissimulation. Despise that which is evil and cleave to that which is good. We can constantly see this statement. Even the first statements of describing Job was that he loved righteousness and hated evil. So look at what it says, dissimulation. I don't want you guys to be not understanding these words, so let me simplify it. Dissimulation is G505, means unfeigned or undisguised or sincere, meaning that it's fully expressed, is not hidden, right? So it says, let your love be without hiding it or without withholding it. You don't withhold your love for somebody, even if it's because that person is acting a certain way. You don't hide your love towards your brothers and sisters, especially when they're walking in righteousness. You don't hide the things that Yah wants you to do for others or express to others. You don't hide the things that Yah allows you to think and to, you express what Yah is inspiring you to express. You despise that which is evil. He also don't want you to hide the fact that you despise what is evil, and he wants you to cleave to that which is good. And I like that he starts out by saying dissimulation or without unfeigning. Don't hide your cleaving to Yah. Don't hide that you are connecting yourself to Yah. Don't hide that you are constantly desiring to do Yah's will and what Yah is pleased with. Don't hide these things. Show it openly. Show that you despise evil openly. It says here in verse 10, be kindly affectionate towards one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. So again, this is one of the things that our society has really done a number on, especially the men, in regards to media, in regards to role models. The expression is the manifestation is that men should be hard, men should be always never showing weakness, and they interpret that as being soft, right? Not showing any softness, tenderness. Those things are not exclusive to women. Women has a certain magnitude of tenderness and nourishing and nurturing, I would say, nurturing. Men also nurture their children. They also nurture their wives. They don't do it to the capacity of a woman, because a woman is built and is capable to express their nurturing side, their mothering side in a more, I would say, in a more perfect manner, the way that Yah created them to do it. But men also have that side as well. Yah is our father, but he's a masculine, but he shows the tenderness and the mercy and the softness towards his people, and we ought to demonstrate that too, especially as men. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. What's interesting is that he has to say this, even in this society, even in his own society. The enemy has been trying to redefine manliness, showing that manliness cannot, not saying that it's not strong and protective and tough, but that it's not soft and kindly affectionate. It's not showing that you prefer your brothers. It's interesting because you only do it to the people that you know, but Yah is talking about his people. He's talking about his people now. He's not talking about your family relatives or the people that you grew up with. He's talking about preferring the body. You just finished talking about everybody's different parts of the same body, and that we ought to have brotherly love and preferring one another within the body. It says here, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the master. Fervent in spirit. I believe it's fervent, like executing the things that's in the mind, executing the things that's in Yah's mind. It says here, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, able to wait during times in which you can't control. This is strength, guys. Continuing instant in prayer, like the first things that you do is go to Yah, is to express your issues to Yah, not to one another, constantly just throwing up on each other and telling each other all your business and feelings and all of that stuff. Sometimes we won't be able to help each other. No, let me not say sometimes. Many times we won't be able to help each other. We're here to encourage each other. Sometimes we won't be able to take away the problem from one another. So we need to be instant. We need to be quick to surrender our issues to Yah. Distributing to the necessities of the set apart ones, the saints, giving to hospitality, always being willing to open yourself up to serve one another, to give your brothers and sisters the things that they need. Necessities is what you need. Please be careful before you end up being taken advantage of. It's not a matter of you are told to do whatever someone else says. You are told by Yah to give and to make sure that your brothers and sisters have the necessities. This is how you love your brethren, because you're giving them the things that they can use to thrive. You don't give them, you don't spoil nobody. You don't spoil your children, nor do you spoil your friends. You shouldn't. You give the necessities to those who need. You give, you offer, you open yourself up, being hospitable. It doesn't mean that you let them come up in your house all the time. It means that you offer your service. You offer your words of encouragement. You offer your time. Bless them which persecute you, and bless and do not curse. He's really telling you about your mouth. He's really telling you not only about your mouth, but your expression towards one another. Your expression towards one another is an expression of love. It's an expression of blessing. Especially when he's talking about those who are professing to be believers, professing to be followers, right? To never give in to what their expression. Always express what Yah wants you to express. Always go and resort back to, what does Yah want me to do? Forget about what this person did. Forget about that person. Yah, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to be? What do you want me to say? Complete surrender, right? Let's continue. Let's read verse 15 down to verse 21. It says here, rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind toward one another. Do not mind high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be humble. Be humble. Don't think of yourself as deserving anything. Men and women, do not think of yourself as deserving anything, but lower yourself. Don't be taken advantage of. Don't like surrender yourself to someone else who's hurting you purposefully. But don't look at yourself like you're better than another person because they were not able to help or give you or take away something from that's burdening you. Be not wise in your own conceits. Don't be wise in your own perspective. Like the things that you see or think, you're saying that I know. You see the wisdom. You're saying I know because I see or I feel or I think. It has to be what Yah says. You're wise because you fear Yah. Fearing Yah is the beginning of wisdom. So wisdom and knowledge is not based off of what you see, is based off of what Yah says. Recompense no man. Do not repay man evil for evil, but provide things honest in the sight of all men. Make sure that everything is expressed. Nothing is hidden. No ulterior motives, guys. Don't say good things just because you're trying to get a good thing. You see what I'm saying? Say what's necessary. It doesn't mean say, pour out all your business or anything like that. What it's saying is don't repay. Don't go back and forth. If somebody deceives you, don't deceive them. You make everything open. You make everything honest. You show who you are from the very beginning. It doesn't mean you have to tell everybody every single detail. It just means that you have to express the necessary things. That there's no way that you can misconstrue what I'm saying, and there's no way that you can misrepresent my character. You're not going to find anything out later on that's going to incriminate you and misrepresent your character. And if you are a representation of Yah, then you are going to misrepresent his character. Now, of course, that's not based off of what people think. That's based off of what Yah sees. People may misjudge you and mischaracterize you based off of their flawed perspective. But that doesn't mean that you ought not to be honest about what you are doing. That's what Yah is trying to express. Be honest about what you are doing on behalf of representing Yah and his son. Verse 18, it says, if it be possible, as much lies in you, live peaceably with all men. As much lies in you, live peaceably with all men. I like this statement because it shows your responsibility, right? It shows the responsibility that he's putting and bestowing on you, but he's also showing as much as lies in you. He's also showing that it may not conclude in a peaceful manner. Things may not always, I would say, things may not always end up in a peaceful conclusion, but that's not what Yah is saying that's going to happen. All he's saying is asking from you for you to be the person that's trying or attempting to establish peace. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place for wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith Yahuwah. In the next chapter, there's a verse that I've read. It is so important. Paul was really touching on this statement, especially this statement that says, but rather give place unto wrath. I want to show you guys something. If I can't find it, I'm gonna start the next chapter with this this idea. So Paul definitely got this from the prophets. Everything that he's speaking in this chapter is from the Torah and the prophets, guaranteed. But there's this statement that he says, I'm gonna find it. So there's a statement that Yah says, and I'm not seeing it. He was talking about the way that Israel was handling their conflicts. And he mentioned that they were handling their conflicts with violence, and that Yah was saying, because you guys are handling these things with violence, I'm not going to punish these people. Why would I punish these people if you are treating these people so horribly? Why would I punish these people if you are, expressing violence towards these people? I'm going to start the next chapter with that statement, because this statement is so important. Avenge not yourselves, but rather give place to wrath. Give place, make room for Yah to step in. Now, what many people don't get is that Yah's vengeance don't necessarily mean he's going to destroy somebody for you. Yah's vengeance means that he's going to repay. As you see here, vengeance is mine, I will repay. When Yah repays, it's usually for the purpose, the first primary purpose of Yah repaying you for your actions before judgment, I would say, because judgment is a conclusive thing. So before judgment, the purpose of him repaying primarily is so you can repent, right? When man steps in and tries to avenge themselves, we're not trying to hear nobody repenting. We're trying to, I would say, release the anger that we have, or the cruelty that's in our hearts and minds. But Yah is repaying. He's repaying. Sometimes when people do something, you see somebody hit your car. There's videos, where you see somebody hit someone else's car and a person comes out and he kills them. That's not a repayment. Those are not equal balances. He hits your car, so you kill him. That's not an equal thing. Somebody, breaks your tooth, so you break their back. You break their neck. These things are not just. These things are not justified. Even if you go to the court system, they're not trying to overstep. Cruel. They're not trying to express cruel, or what do they call it? Cruel and unusual punishment. It's unusual. It's not even. It's because it's not equal. So it's just like, what are you doing? How would you pay back those things? So what you do is you don't avenge yourself. You make place for Yah's wrath to express a repayment that will be deemed as just. But I'm gonna get that verse for you guys when we go over chapter 13. It says here, therefore, if If your enemy hunger, feed him. Remember what we were talking about with the necessities. There's many people who think that Yah is telling you to just sit down, hang out with enemies and wicked people. No, he's not telling you to do none of that stuff. He's telling you to see, when you see your enemy with a necessity that's gone and it's affecting them and they cannot thrive. They have children and their children are hungry. He's telling you, give your enemy food, give him drink, for in doing so, you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. Do you guys know any examples of a time in which Israel expressed love toward their enemies by giving them what they needed, even while they were their enemies? I know many times people read scripture and they focus on wars, right? All those wars and things like that along those lines. But many people don't see those moments where Yah is expressing mercy towards the nations. Let me see if I could. So there's a story in, I would say, 2 Kings. Let me see if I could find it. Yep, 2 Kings chapter 6. This is the story of the Syrian army came, and they came to attack Israel and also to kill Elisha, because he kept on telling the Israel army what was going on with the army of Syria. So look at what happens. It says, Elisha, this is 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 18. Elisha prayed unto yahuah and said, smite this people, I beg you, with blindness. And he smote them with the blindness according to the word of Elisha. Now watch this motive, right? Elisha said to them, this is not the way, neither this is the city. Follow me, and I'll bring you to the man that you're looking for. And he led them straight to Samaria. If you guys don't know where Samaria is right dead center of the northern kingdom. When Israel was split into two kingdoms, Samaria was like right dead center. It was one of the cities dead center of the northern kingdom. So they're surrounded. So he led the Syrian army right in the dead center of the northern kingdom. And look at what happens. It came to pass that when they came to Samaria, Elisha said, yahuah, open the eyes of these men that they may see. And yahuah opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, that they were in the middle of Samaria. The king of Israel said to Elisha, when he saw them, Father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? And he answered and said, this is what Elisha said, you shall not smite them. Would you smite those whom you have taken captive with the sword and with the bow? Set bread and water in front of them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master, and send them away. He prepared great provision for them, and when they ate and drank, he sent them away, and they went to their master. And so the armies of Syria never came back again. So he gave them bread and water to their enemies while they were at war. Matter of fact, specifically, the Syrian army was sent to not only attack Israel, but to kidnap Elisha. And Elisha is saying, give them bread and water, send them back to their master. They go back to their master, and they never come back and fight with Israel at that time. So it's just interesting how a demonstration of giving your enemies the things that they need, transforming a whole army's perspective, a whole king's perspective, to be like, I'm not going to do this anymore with them. You see what I'm saying? So you never know what type of power Yah is able to give you when you just express yourself the way Yah wants you to express yourself during troublous times, hardships, conflicts. Express yourself the way that Yah wants you to express yourself. It doesn't mean not to show that you are angry at something. It doesn't mean, well, it depends on how you show it. To do everything the way that Yah would do it. And with the motive, Yah is intending for someone else to see him. So Yah is telling us that when we express ourselves, to make sure that they can still see Yah. So Romans chapter 12, definitely in line with Torah and the prophets. Nothing outside of that. And we're on chapter 12 now. So it's interesting how when people say how much Paul is the enemy, it's like you have no clue what he's talking about. Because it's very simple if you correlate the actual scriptures with the letters of Paul. So I'll talk to you guys soon. We're gonna have another message. I've noticed recently that there's been a big confusion pertaining to the identity of Gentiles, and so we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the grafted in a established established apologetic video. We're gonna go through the verses and we're gonna show clearly. And I did a video about this before. There's no such thing as Gentiles. There's no such thing as Gentiles. There's no nations and Gentiles, nation of Israel and Gentiles. Like we're gonna look at that. Some people even have this idea that Israelites that speak Greek is called Gentiles. It's so important to understand words so you're not using those words to create doctrine and teaching. So we're going to touch on that after we get through these last couple chapters. We're going to have to address the idea of Gentiles, or I may do it and post it sooner than the finishing of these chapters. But I hope that this was a blessing, and I look forward to hearing back from you. Please send us your suggestions, and we'll look forward to studying with you guys next time. Shalom, everyone.